want me to put that on my Tudor?
Harry's wife. Invisible kids. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. There has been speculation surrounding Princess Lilibet and Prince Archie from the moment that they purportedly came into this world. There was speculation, of course, as a consequence of the alleged age of Harry's wife, the allegation that she'd had a hysterectomy, and therefore was unable to bear children. Evidence that has been produced which seems to show that her pregnancy bump changes shape, size, and indeed location, all calling into question whether she was actually pregnant. There are those that have examined the various photographs, sporadic as they are, of the children, to suggest that the children don't actually belong to the Sussexes and that they are children from somebody else that are basically hired in for photo opportunities. There are others who simply say there are no children, full stop. There are other individuals that say, yes, they exist, but she did not give birth to them. Of course, drawing into this allegation requires the silence and consent of a lot of people. As I've explained in a separate video, would a narcissist invent children? The short answer to that is, yes, a narcissist would do so, for a variety of reasons that I've expanded on in that particular video. Does that mean that has happened here? Well, again, I leave it for you to examine the evidence and to make your own minds up about that. But it's certainly something that a narcissist would do in order to achieve the prime aims. In certain instances, certain narcissists would also find it quite entertaining to behave in this way, seeing the quizzical and confused looks of individuals. However, to pass this off, it would require the buy-in from a lot of individuals, hospital staff, staff at home, relatives, and so forth. Of course, they see very little of their extended family. On the Markle side, they are all excluded. On the Ragland side, it would appear that only Doria Ragland has some involvement, and it may well be that she's in on the scam, if you can describe it as such, and that the suggestion that a lot of money was sent her way is her part of the bribe for her silence. With regard to the royal family, there have been few meetings between those members of the royal family and Archie and Lilibet. It seems inconceivable, for instance, that the late Queen and the late Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, would have consented to being in some arrangement whereby the children didn't exist and dolls were being paraded. Nevertheless, the speculation persists. It would seem that most likely, given the allegations that surround the issue of age and her hysterectomy, that there is a strong possibility that a surrogate was used, and as I've explained elsewhere, Harry's wife would need to cover this up because it would impact upon her status and also the issue of the children being in the line of succession. The fact that she is not seen as the one who's given birth to the children, even though these days there are many people who use surrogates and come clean about it and are not ashamed of doing so, but for her, the admission that she was not the one that carried the children would make her seem, at least in her view, not necessarily anybody else's, but in her view, less of a mother, and therefore that's a threat to control. Furthermore, the issue of status surrounding the line of succession is hugely important for her as a narcissist, and therefore, if there was any exclusion of Archie and Lilibet from the line of succession because they were not born of her body, that again would amount to a huge threat to control. In the circumstances, her being a narcissist and the need for that control gives credence to the suggestion that she may well have orchestrated a cover-up of the use of surrogates. Further information has come via the St. Harry's Wife thread on Reddit from the same individual, Anonymous, who was commenting about the issue of Doria and the drugs. This time the disclosures, and as always I leave it up to you to determine the veracity of this material, states, nobody sees the kids. Is this to suggest that they don't exist, or is it quite simply that they do exist, but they're kept hidden away? The disclosure states, My friend has kids, and her friend in Monty Shit Show has meetups and playdates with each other. No sign or sighting of Archie and Lily playing on swings or slides at the playground or mixing with other kids in the neighbourhood. Many kids do this and also mix with kids from their kindergartens, schools, etc. But apparently Archie isn't allowed to do so, or even go to birthday parties. Some of the kids attend the same school, and teachers hate Harry's wife, Harriet and Doria, for what they've done to Archie, and are thankful for the nannies looking after him 24/7. There has been nothing said about a birthday party for him either this year, with little school friends. Now again, I emphasise that this material may well be inaccurate, but if on the basis that it is correct, would it be something that a narcissist would do that would mean that both children don't mix with any others? It absolutely is the case. Of course, there are considerations with regard to security, but of course, they pay a lot of money for that security, and therefore that security can be present to ensure that there's no threat to the children, that there's no risk of being kidnapped, or the risk is minimised and reduced to the lowest level possible. However, it would appear from this information that the children are simply never seen, that they exist, that Archie goes to school, to kindergarten, but he's not allowed to mix with the children, that there are no play dates thereafter, that he doesn't get to go to the playground and mix with the other kids in the neighbourhood. Therefore, this disclosure suggests that they both exist. It doesn't clarify how they came to exist, but that they do, but their lives are most insular. Of course, a narcissist would well behave this way. Keeping their children away from other people enables more control to be asserted over them. It also is important to recognise the fact that, of course, Archie will be able to speak, and therefore there are instances where certain disclosures might be made by him of what goes on in the household. And if the rumours are believed about the behaviours, in terms of drug taking, in terms of abusive actions, then there is a risk that he might speak out, and of course, a narcissist wants to prevent that from happening. Of course, it's entirely indicative of the absence of emotional empathy, not allowing a child to mix with other children, not allowing them to play, depriving them of the essence of their childhood, and accordingly operating with that sense of entitlement and lack of accountability for ensuring a happy childhood is, of course, demonstrative of the behaviour of a narcissist. Remember, Harry's wife doesn't think to herself, if of course all of this is true, I know, I'll make the wee chap's life a misery. Instead, her narcissism tells her that what she's doing is appropriate, that what she's doing is best for him, that he is a prince, and therefore he can't mix with the riffraff, that he's a prince, and therefore there's a risk to his person of hanging out with the ordinary kids. Of course, Archie doesn't understand the concept of being a prince, probably doesn't give a rat's ass about being a prince, and would much rather run around chasing his friends and playing tag and all the other games that children play. He would just want to be a child. But if this information is correct, he's being deprived all of that, which is resulting in course of hatred rising from the teachers, not approving and downright disliking the way that Archie's being treated, and are thankful for the fact that he has such a level of involvement with the nannies. It also seems to suggest that with regard to a birthday party, nothing has been suggested with regard to him having a party with school friends. And that, of course, lends credence to the suggestion that Harry's wife is just going to hijack it for a celebrity bash so that he can attempt to overshadow the king's coronation. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.